So if I'm going to be using Desmos to make a graph of my name, a graph of letters, the first thing to remember is that it is not going to go perfectly. The first time, it may not go perfectly. The second time, it may not be perfect. The fifth time. Um, this process will take a lot of trial and error, and you're going to learn some things, and you're going to make mistakes, and it'll be great. So I'm just going to start with the first letter of the alphabet, an A. So I'm thinking of a capital A. I know what that looks like in my head. It looks like a parabola. It looks like an upside down parabola. So I'm going to use a negative x squared, right? Okay, so I made my parabola. It's got a vertex at the origin, but I want my vertex maybe to be over here. How about at, let's say, 3, 5? Okay, so I need to change um, my form a little bit so I can just keep editing that. All right, I got my 5 and now I want to shift it over. So keeping in mind what I know about vertex form, um, let's do a -3. All right, now I've got my parabola shifted over. I've got it, where I want it. But I don't want it to go downwards forever. I want it to stop. Maybe I want it to stop right here along the x-axis. So I'll use that as like the line of my paper if I was writing this out. So I can actually click right here and see, oh, look at those x values. And if I restrict the domain, that is restrict the x values of my graph, I can make it go in between those two values. So I'm going to restrict my graph on the left-hand side 0.764. And to do that, I'm going to use curly brackets. Those keys are right above enter on your keyboard, and you have to hit shift. But I'm going to do 764 is less than or equal to x. So see, now it's kind of cut off right there. And then on the other side, 5.236, I can cut it off on that side as well. 5.236. And now my graph, by limiting the domain there, and I didn't have to put anything else in here. I didn't have to use a comma or a semicolon. I just had to enclose it in those curly brackets. And now my A is starting to take shape. I've got the shape I want, but capital A's also have a horizontal line that goes right through them, right? So I want that to be a horizontal line at the y value 2. That sounds good. So I'll type in y equals 2. And so I've got the position I want, but again, now it's extending too far. I only want it to stay within the body of the A there. So if I click on these 2 points, it will help me, again, restrict the domain. I don't want every single x value. I want only the x values between these two. So 1.268. So again, I'm going to open my curly brackets. 1.268 is less than or equal to x. So it looks good on the left-hand side there. And then on the right-hand side, that'll be 4.732. 4.732. Now, for me, my biggest issue is once I start typing in the function box, it will take the graph away. It's trying to wait to see what you're doing as you do that. And so for me, the hardest part is just remembering what those numbers are. All right, so now I've got my A. It looks really pretty, but I wish it was all the same color. So I can actually do that. I can edit my list using this little gear at the top. And if I want it to be, let's do purple. I want both parts of this to be purple. I just click the color that I want, and now, that's gorgeous. Something that might also be helpful here is, if I want all my other letters to be the same height here, I want it to be consistent, I can set up some guides for myself. So maybe I don't want them to be any taller than y equals 5. So I'm going to set up y equals 5 and maybe change it to a dotted line, a black dotted line. And now I have a guide for myself for all my other graphs here. So we can use any function family we want, a parabola, a cubic, a quartic. There's some other functions that you can explore that we will talk about too, like ellipses and circles, even just a vertical line. Remember that a vertical line is an x value. So maybe I'm going to make an I here. So I want a vertical line at x equals 6.5. Yeah, that looks like a good spot for an I. And I want to cut it off. I want to cut off those y values. Oops, don't need a comma, just curly brackets, the y values from 0 to 5. And now I've got my eye starting to take shape. So you can play around with this, edit, delete, add as many functions in here as you want. You can just keep editing those. Once you got the shape you like, you can change the color here. You can do that. And if you're making really great progress, you can actually save your graph too. Up here where it says untitled graph, if you click on that, it will ask you to sign in with Google, right? You have to agree to everything first, but it's the same Google sign in that you would use for any other online tool. And you can save it and come right back to it any day. So give this a shot, play around with it a little bit, and I'm so excited to see your work.